You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible.
When John Miller finally free from prison after 21 years. He was cleared of murder, murder he never committed, more than 10 years after another man began confessing to the killing in an attempt to clear his own conscience. The actual killer is David Williams. He felt guilty even before Miller's first hearing back when he was arrested for the 1996 crime and has been declaring his own culpability for more than 10 years. Miller has always maintained his innocence. Amisha, I want to go to you. I mean, here's what is amazing to me. It is very rare when you hear one of these stories that the person who served time in prison is white. And this is also why there are people who do not believe in the death penalty, because we've seen these cases where African-American men have been on death row and then freed for crimes they did not commit. And I cannot imagine. I mean, my niece is 22. This man served 21 years in prison. I just couldn't imagine spending 2 decades behind bars for something you know you didn't do.
Hearing his story, it almost makes me cry, because I think of all of the time that he missed, all the family time, all of the growth, everything that has changed in this country over the past 3, 4, 5 years, much less 20, and you maintaining your innocence the entire time, reaching out, trying to get as much support as possible. Meanwhile, investigators having information of the person who confessed and details linking him to the crime that he confessed to. So at that point, you have to acknowledge the fact that our criminal justice system has ingrained within it some really serious issues. Part of it goes back to prosecutors wanting to get a conviction extremely quickly, whether or not they have all the evidence or not. But in addition to that, it's also a jury system that is more likely to believe a black man is guilty just because he's a black man than actually paying attention to evidence at the time. I think that cases like this, once they're brought to light and you see that someone has served such a long time and is now being released, we can't really call it justice, because at the end of the day, he will never get those 20 years back. Never. And it's frustrating. It's outrageous.
And Mustafa, in some of these cases, they aren't eligible for a lot of money. It depends upon the state, and that's what's also shameful. You're having to restart your life, and you spent 21 years behind jail. Many of these folks could have gone to college, could have been doing things, and now you're in your 40s and 50s, some cases 60s, and you're trying to restart.
Yeah, a number of what we probably would label as red states have moved forward on putting things on the books to stop folks from being able to get except a small amount of resources back for the time that they've spent behind bars, and we've got to change that. But again, that goes back to our vote and being educated and knowing the things that we are looking for and making sure that we're putting the right people in office to help to move forward to address these past injustices and the injustices that continue to happen.
And Joseph, this is why when I was talking about earlier, organizing and mobilizing when it comes to your vote, because now people realize who that district attorney is can determine what happens with the criminal justice system. We know of cases. We have the Supreme Court case with the guy in Mississippi, the white DA, repeatedly kept striking black jurors from the trial, even when smacked down by courts. This is why we've got to have DAs with conscience. We've got to have judges with conscience. We've got to have politicians who are appointing judges, who are overseeing aspects of the criminal justice system, who are standing up and saying what is right and what is fair should always be the most important, and not trying to base your career off the backs of throwing folks in prison for long periods of time.
Yeah, I mean, the hard truth is that, to my colleague's point, that no, this is not justice, and it happens time and time again. And whether it's a small amount of money or a life-changing amount of money, nothing can give you back that time that you would have had with your family. And ultimately, the greatest crime is that those payouts come at the expense of the very communities from which these people come from. And so you're a person of color. Congratulations. You got $5 million. That's $5 million less that ultimately goes to education in that district, that goes to maintaining safety in those communities. I mean, we know concretely that the people who are responsible for injustice in this country are not the ones paying. They're not. When police officers abuse civil rights, that money is not coming out of their pension funds. When you have judges who are corrupt, that money does not come out of their retirement funds. This money comes out of budgets for cities, and the majority of that money goes to the safety net for the people that depend on it. And so I think, again, to your point, yes, we have to make sure that people are in tune. That means not just the 23 people on stage running for president, but we have to know who's on our city councils. We have to know who's running for those city judges. We have to know who's running in those DA races, because ultimately, most of the time, they have a larger impact on outcomes in our community than the people running at the federal level.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, you heard me talk a lot about marijuanastock.org because I want to keep you informed of investment opportunities that make sense. We've all watched the growth of the cannabis industry. A recent report by New Frontier Data estimates the global cannabis market at more than $340 billion. We know that marijuana legalization is sweeping the country state by state. We also know that marijuana has a good cousin, the hemp plant, with a much higher concentration of CBD. That means hemp gives you all the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Until recently, hemp farming was practically illegal in the United States and heavily regulated by the DEA. However, the 2018 Farm Bill changed all of that, making it legal to grow hemp CBD in the U.S. and creating one of the largest commodities worldwide. They need land to grow all of the plants. Folks, it's real simple. Now, our good friends at 420 Real Estate, their business model is simple. They buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to licensed, high-paying tenants. That's right, they are hemp CBD landlords, and you can get in on the action. Now, 420 Real Estate has decided to do something special for the Roland Martin Unfiltered family. Originally, the minimum investment level was $500, but right now you can invest in the crowdfunding campaign for as little as $200. That's right, as little as $200 up to $10,000. Again, this is a $340 billion worldwide industry that is still growing, and you can participate with as little as $200. To invest, go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.